Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peter Likes Books. And today I was trying to think of something different to talk about on here. And recently on Twitter, I have seen so many people talk about how they're in a reading slump, and they're like, oh, I'm stuck in a reading slump, I can't find anything good to read, and I don't know what to read next, and what am I gonna do to get out of this reading slump? And it's so funny because I for a long time said, I don't believe in reading slumps. Have you ever made a statement and then later you eat your own words? Okay, I totally believe in eating slumps. Eating slumps. I totally believe in reading slumps. And I don't know why I didn't used to believe it. I just kind of thought it was laziness when I didn't want to read, like, I always, look at my own experience when I'm talking about something. So when somebody would say a reading slump, I would say, okay, Peter, like when you're going through a reading slump, what does that mean? And that means I'm just bored of all the books that I'm reading. I don't want to read anything, or I'm being lazy. I'm not sitting down and I'm not reading anything, right? And so for me, it was never like a reading slump. It was complete like complacency or laziness. And on top of that, just not being able to find a good book to read. And I think a lot of times for me, to get out of a reading slump, which yes, I now looking back go, oh, that was a reading slump. I think that it takes me finding a really intriguing book, or a book that's just like super fun to read that I can get into and I don't want to put down, right? And I think for all of us, we're always looking for that next book that we literally cannot put down, right? And one of the reasons over the past couple years, well, I'm coming up on 2 years on BookTube. So since I've been on BookTube, one of the reasons I've learned to DNF, or do not finish a book, is because I am no longer willing to waste time reading something I don't enjoy. I read to enjoy books. I don't read to just say, oh, check that one off that I've read it. I don't, listen, I don't have that much time left on this earth, and there's not enough time for me to read all the books that I want to read already. So I'm not going to waste my time reading something that I don't want to read. I was actually going to do a video today and talk about books to get you out of a reading slump. And I was like standing in front of my bookshelf over there, and I had pulled down like some of my favorites, like Dumpling by Julie Murphy, and The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas, and on and on and on. And I actually pulled down this Christopher Rice book, which I've never read this one, Light Before Day. But I've read his he's written like 5 or 6 books now. This is Anne Rice's son, if you didn't know. He writes very kind of like gothic, eerie, like her, but not similar at all. It's not like vampires and all that kind of stuff. And it actually almost reminds me a little bit more of, oh shoot, what's her name? The one that wrote Practical Magic. Why can't I think of her name right now? I just saw the book over there. I love her. I just saw one of her books. But anyway, he has also written, the 2 books that I read of his were Destiny of Souls and The Snow Garden. And they were fantastic. And they were so weird and eerie. And if you've ever read The Secret History by Donna Tartt, they kind of remind me of that a little bit. And he is, I mean, really a force to be reckoned with. He is a phenomenal author. But it's literary fiction, but it's also kind of a thriller. It's very, very interesting. Eerie thrillers, you know what I mean? And I haven't read this one, and I have another one of his over there that I haven't read. And it's coming to me. Practical Magic, it's coming to me. Anyway, somebody's already written it below, so it doesn't really matter. Don't you hate that? My friend used to say back in the day, wiggle your toes, and it'll set off neurons in your brain, and then you'll remember things. So I'm like wiggling my toes right now, Practical Magic. But that's not the one I ever think of her for. I always think of her for this book that I read called Aquamarine that she wrote, and it was about a mermaid. Do you guys know who I'm talking about? Anyway, so she always writes about like earth witchy kind of stuff. I love her. Why can't I think of her name? So anyway, but I was sitting there and I was like, well, you know what's interesting about this is that books that I would like, that would, get me to start wanting to read again are not, like I went to go pull Sleeping Giants down by Sylvain Neuvel, and I was like, God, but so many people wouldn't like this book, right? So I think what pulls each of us out of a reading slump is completely different to the next person, right? And I think it depends on what our reading interests are. And what's so funny is that when I go back in my life and I look at the books that really, like, I could not put down. Like, I will never forget reading The Winner by David Baldacci. And was it The Winner or The Lottery? The Winner by David Baldacci. I'm, like, losing my mind today. I can't remember anything. Pretty soon you guys will just be coming to Peter Likes Books, and I'll be like this. And then I truly will be the old man of YouTube. I don't remember what I was going to say. I don't remember what I was going to make a video about. But anyway, all I keep on hearing in my head is Anne Lamott, and that's not who it is. But she's the one that wrote the Mercies book. Now, I can't remember anything. But you know, like, when I look back on my life and I think about books that I literally could not put down, and She's Come Undone by Wally Lamb, and The Lottery by David Baldacci, which is such a Pulp Fiction-y kind of book, I don't know why, but like Kiss the Girls by James Patterson, which was when he was a real author back in the day, you know? And The Hate U Give and Dumpling by Julie Murphy, and a lot of it had to do with reading the right book at the right time, if that makes sense. And like, you know, like a book that I would have, like, if I had read the same book, you know, 6 months before, I might not have liked it. The Speed Queen by Stuart Onan. Anyway, you know, all of these different books that like really were pivotal in my life, and you know, just I literally could not wait to get home and read. And just, if you guys ever read a book like that, well, if you're on BookTube, yes, of course you have. So, but very few books like that do that to me anymore. You know, it's really, I always say to my best friend Tanya, we're always talking about, you know, books in the car, and she'll say, well, what's something really good that I won't be able to put down? And I'm like, I can't tell you. Like, I haven't had that, you know, I haven't read that kind of book in a long time. Emma and the Night, and it's always not the book that you would think it is, right? It's never like this #1 bestseller. Like, I recently read Emma and the Night, and I told her, I said, you've got to read this book. Like, you can't put it down. You've got to find out you're so driven to find out what's going on. And that would be kind of a book that would get me out of a reading slump. Well, I've gone through a reading slump recently, you know. January and February, I just didn't read a whole lot. I read like less than 5 books a month. March, I read 1 book and a half, you know. And so what's interesting is April, what is it, April 8th or 9th today? 8th. And I've already read like 4 books this month. And a lot of them I was finishing from last month. But a lot of it was because I was in this reading slump. And I don't know what the reading slump was about. I don't know if it was laziness. I don't know if it was I couldn't go outside to read, which is where I love to read. I think a lot of it, but because even with Audible, I just wasn't even finding books that I loved, you know? Last summer, we went to Cancun, and I took Big Little Lies by Liane Moriarty, and it was, I mean, I literally could not put the book down. I read it cover to cover in like 2.5, 3 days, and it was so fantastic. And I just recently started this, The Husband's Secret by Liane Moriarty, and it's the same thing. I can't put it down. Like, every time I come to the house, I like open it up and read 5 pages, you know, before I go on and do other things. And I'm like almost afraid to go and read like the rest of her books, because what I have found by reading 2 of her books is that they're so similar that my guess is that all of her books are similar. Well, then wouldn't it make sense that since I love her work so much, that I just save a book for when I'm in a reading slump again, and then, oh, go and, you know, pick What Alice Knew or whatever her other books are called, you know, Truly, Madly Guilty, because then I know that I can read like a book and get out of a reading slump because I love her books so much. But I think it, you know, it really is important for us to know what kind of books will get us out of a reading slump so that we can go there and we can go find those books and read those books and, you know, then be like, okay, I can go on to reading again. Because here's the thing. If I read a book that is absolutely fantastic, that I cannot put down, like if I started reading this book and I was like, oh, I have to have this book, you know, every minute of the day. Have you ever done that where you like literally take a book with you everywhere and you're like, even at a red light, you're like, you know what I mean? But if you're like that, then the next book, even if it's not a 5-star, you kind of can get into it again. You can kind of read it, you know, because you're kind of like, oh, okay, like I'm back into the whole kind of reading vibe. Well, that's what happened. When I went to Florida last 2 weeks ago, you know, I took The Husband's Secret by Liane Moriarty with me, and I started reading it, and I got like 100 pages into it. Well, since I've been back, I am on a total, like, I am like in it to win it. I've listened to like 2 audiobooks in less than a week. I started reading that Orange, the manga book, which is fantastic. I started reading that graphic novel, you know, and I'm like reading all kinds of things. I just finished, you know, another paperback, and I'm just like going through stuff, and I'm like, oh my God, like I'm loving to read again. And now I'm super excited about the process of reading and finding the next really great book. But here's the deal with getting into a reading slump. If you're in a reading slump and you've finished a book and like you're not currently reading anything, I think for me, what I typically do in those situations is I reach out to other booktubers, I reach out to other bookstagrammers, book bloggers that I know and say, tell me a book you could not put down. And I don't just listen to one person. I wait for like 5 or 6 people to tell me. And then if there's one book that I hear twice, then I go read that book. And the second thing is that if I'm in the middle of reading some books and those books aren't doing it for me, like if you followed my videos for a long time, you'll know last summer there was a period where I was reading like 7 books, and it was like I felt like the library had fallen on me and I couldn't get out of it, you know? And I couldn't get away from those 7 books. I finally took them and put them over on the shelf. I was like, enough already. Start with a new book, put those 7 aside, you'll get to them down the road. And you know what was so interesting was the week before Booktubeathon, I made myself sit down outside and I finished every single one of those books. Because I was like, I just want to get them done, right? At that point. And that was okay. I could sacrifice a week to just get 7 books done. You know what I mean? I was already partially done with all of them anyway. But for me, a lot of times I have to like take the book that I'm reading. If I'm like, oh God, I can't even get through one more page of this. Close it and put it away. Out of sight, out of mind. Bring a new book that I'm excited about and start that. You know, it's no fun for us to be in a reading slump when we love to read. You know, we feel like every day that goes by is a missed opportunity on finding a book that we really will love and it will become part of our friends. I mean, I see my books and the characters in them as friends. I'm sure you do too. So every day that goes by that we're just like, didn't read today, I feel like is wasted time, and I don't like that, you know? So I'm constantly wanting to find new books that will excite me and interest me, and I'm sure you do too. So this is what I'm gonna ask, okay, for my future reading slumps, and for anybody that's going through it right now. Leave in the comment section below a book that you literally could not put down. I mean, a book that you could not wait to get home to every day and start. It was just so good, so exciting, so fresh, so original. You just loved it so much. Put it in the comment section below. If it's a series, all the better. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about reading slumps as well. I love you, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.